Welcome to the Elite One Recruiting Show.
Hey, welcome to the Elite One Recruiting Show. My co-host Kayla Davis, Richard Stewart. We're excited today. We got a power couple in women's basketball. Coach Willie McCray and his wife Leila McCray. Willie's just a pioneer in the game on all levels. But we connected in women's semi-professional basketball. And where he's done some incredible things, running leagues and tour teams and you name it. And then Leila is a veteran that still plays to this day, and I've been on the other side of it where she's destroyed our team, single-handedly destroyed our teams, and ended our run at national championships. In the women's semi-pro game. And so she's been breaking hearts for a long time and kicking butt as a women's professional basketball player. And so we're excited to have them on because, we want to hear from them, not just their journey, but how, any advice, direction, anything that can help support, women, anybody actually that's trying to aspire to be, to stay in the game playing professionally. So we're going to bring into the studio, Willie and Leila.
Hey guys.
Thanks for having us.
Hey, good morning.
Well, right, excited to have you. So, obviously I'm familiar with both of you in different capacities, but my hosts aren't, and some of our guests, because we have a large following in Canada. That's where we're based out of. So maybe we can start by having each one of you, tell us your story and tell us more about you.
Okay. I am originally from Switzerland, so it took me a little longer than some other players that are already here in the States to get over here or be here and establish some kind of recognition. But long story short, I went through college and was looking for some kind of higher level to play. And that was kind of hard to find because here in the States, you either have college and then WNBA. But since I took a little different path, it came in really handy for the WBCBL to be around, which I'm sure he's going to get into a little later. So I played in his league for a little bit and then ended up signing on for the NWBL, which was a professional league. And I ended up playing for the Colorado Chill for a season, and then afterwards I went to Spain overseas D1, and I came back and continued training here, and then ended up meeting Lisa Leslie and signed a training camp contract for the LA Sparks. Trained there for about 8 weeks. Everything looked really good. I got good feedback from everyone, Coach Cooper, Lisa. But then the first day of training camp, I hurt my back.
Oh, no.
Basically, how my path ended indirectly. So I'm saying this to say you just really have to fight for your dream because nobody's just going to hand it to you. So I went through rehab and I went overseas and after that, I just came back here and just continued playing for the WBCBL, and it just kept me in shape, and that basically opened opportunities to play in other countries. So between then, I was in Japan, I was in Colombia just recently, and you just got to stay in shape and keep your priorities straight, I guess.
Absolutely. Willie, I don't know. We need a whole 30-minute segment.
If I can cut it short, you can do.
I don't know if you can condense it or not, if it's possible.
I think I got a microwave version handy. For the most part, my sports career started kind of by way of chance and situations, and in a nutshell, and some bad decision making. My younger years, I was at a point where growing up, we really didn't get that many opportunities to play. Of course, we always enjoyed playing sports and love playing sports. In high school, I messed around, got in some trouble, and the judge gave me an ultimatum. He was like, "You can stay here and get in trouble again, and and get in some serious trouble, or you can go to school." I was like, "I think I like the school option a little bit better." So I ended up getting a scholarship to University of Arkansas Monticello. Played there, then transferred to UCA 2 years later, University of Central Arkansas. Left there early in pursuit of playing professional football, whereas originally when I went to school at UAM, University of Arkansas Monticello, I was three sport athletes. Played football, basketball, and track. So when played football, arena ball, spring league, there's so many different leagues that were going on back then, couldn't keep up with them. Unfortunately, none of them even exist still today, but from there, got back to my love of basketball, moved to Dallas, and the basketball scene was not very lively there because Texas was a football state. So I decided to make that change. And in doing so, I started a club team called the Dallas Diesel. Got off to a pretty good start. It was basically comprised of former college players, and we would do exhibition games against local teams, minor league teams, and college teams. We ended up having the guy, the GoPro. We put up one of those freebie websites, and that got a lot of international attention real quick. So we started getting calls from all over the world from teams looking for players, which was just kind of mind blowing to me at the time because my idea was having somewhere to play locally. Mm-hmm. So after that, we started a women's program. The women's program just exploded. Went from one team to 2 to 5 to 10 to 20 to 50 nationwide.
Wow.
That's where the WBCBL came in at, with our local team being so successful and us not having the players to fill all those requests for international teams. That's when we branched out and started the Women's Blue Chip Basketball League. And doing that, we would host the tryouts in the early years. We literally would not have enough room in the gym for all the players. Wow. Pretty crazy. And I remember during the first orientation of one and seeing all these people and all these players, I'm like, y'all do know you're not getting paid for this, right? I was like, no, we don't care. We just want to play. I was like, they don't have basketball where y'all from? It was crazy. I mean, we had people from Japan, from France, from Seattle, just all over the world flying to Dallas, Texas to play. And I was like, man, we gotta take it. We gotta do something about this. And in my mind, I saw it as a problem. It wasn't enough opportunity, and that kind of tied into my background as well. When I was growing up, there wasn't enough opportunity to play. We didn't have the large AAU circuits and all those things that are taking place over the years. So that's kind of where the wave for the WBCBL came into play. And of course, with our teams getting the recognition that they had, we had a lot of former WNBA players, a lot of international players, a lot of players fresh out of college. And the concept behind it was to give players a chance to play on a competitive level that didn't get that opportunity to go play professionally. So it was mostly the college players from JUCO to NCAA D1 that didn't get that opportunity to get looked at by a WNBA team. And it's Wayne can tell you it was something else, man. The talent level was nice.
Let me jump way ahead because I read your wife's bio, and she was the Swiss high jump champion, and you married almost a dual sport athlete, but you married a track and field person. I did the same thing. I married the NCAA triple jump champion. You know what I'm saying? Willie, you and I got to get together, brother. We got the same stuff going on. So, it's cool, man. I'm glad that you're here, and I just want to learn some stuff from you, and so we can help our audience, Willie, in terms of how we help more people in terms of basketball and women and men. Because I remember in my situation, I always noticed that women were having a hard time finding places to play and leagues to play in. Right. So, my first question to you, Willie, is when you started the league, how did you go about structuring it, and to give people opportunities? And how did you go about doing that?
Okay. Well, I'm gonna take it back a step too. Now, when I first started, I had no interest in women's basketball.
Oh, you may want to save that one. Like, at least pretend you had a little bit of interest.
And let me tell you how this all changed. The only time that I watched women's basketball is when I had like a relative playing, or a friend playing, or something like that.
Right.
And when I moved to Dallas, because where I was from, it wasn't a lot of women's basketball going on here in Arkansas. So when I moved to Dallas, and of course, going from gym to gym, I ran across a group of young ladies that all played college ball that I found out later. And I was just kind of on the sideline watching. I was like, man, you really don't see, a group of women playing ball at the gyms,
Mm-hmm.
And man, they were good. They were going at it. I mean, dang, they play like dudes. Yeah, like they play better than dudes.
True.
And that really sparked my interest in it. So, after they finished playing, I talked to them a little bit to find out, a little bit about them, and find out one was a former WNBA player, one was a current WNBA player, some were still in college, and some were fresh out, and some were heading to college from high school. And I was like, wow, I'd never seen women play at that level before. So that just opened my eyes to just how skillful the game of women's basketball really is, and then to go on to kind of get things started, I had to basically create the environment. So we would rent a gym, and we would have open gym as well, and just networking, going from gym to gym, all the rec leagues, the Boys and Girls Club, to the YMCA's, to just going to every that I can, posting up flyers and inviting women to come and play.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, when social media started picking up, I mean, that really helped us out greatly.
Okay.
If it wasn't for the internet and social media, then we'd still be in that one gym with nobody knowing about us.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
Well, what's interesting before I sort of make our connection is that, Kayla, I mean, we're in 2021. I mean, what opportunities are there, for young women? You are making decisions in terms of your future in the game. What opportunities were presenting themselves for you, and is there a limited amount?
So I think it was already kind of touched on a bit when it comes to when you finish college, whether you start playing in Canada or in the United States. It's usually overseas WNBA, either you're drafted or you could potentially get a contract in terms of for like a camp. And other than that, your options are pretty limited. There's different levels of playing in overseas. So there's potential that you could start at maybe a lower level league. But if you don't get that interest automatically in terms of having an agent and doing all that, then you're kind of in a position where they have a couple, I think the right word for it would be maybe like evaluation camps that I've heard of throughout the years in certain cities where all professional players go out there and they kind of do like a combine and a game type of thing. And then through that, agents are able to watch people and maybe get in touch. But it is definitely one of those scenarios where if you're not on that path immediately because of your stats or maybe where you're playing and not getting a lot of exposure, you're going to be in a tough situation if you're trying to play after school and if you don't have those immediate options of either playing overseas or in the WNBA. So,
something, Leila, I was just thinking about you. I remember, and Willie says he had no interest in women's basketball, but hey, you know what? When I was growing up here in Toronto, we grew up in a little community center. There were some girls who were really good basketball players, and they played with us guys, Leila. So I'm going to ask you a question, so you can help the audience. Do you think it's beneficial for young ladies to play with the men? What do you think there's plus and minuses to that? And what do you feel would be the best route now during COVID for women to be able to market themselves? Because COVID, you can't travel across borders right now. Ontario, Canada is shut down. So that's one of the two-part question. Do you think it's beneficial for ladies to play with men? Because when I was growing up in the community center, we had girls play with us. When I went to St. Joe's, it kind of separated a bit. girls had their time, the men had their time. But I played with girls when I was playing 5-on-5 pickup in my community center. Leila, I picked a girl who was a decent, and she went to the corner, and I dished it to her, and she knocked down those shots. Other guys discounted them, and I kind of not making myself out to be a hero or anything. I'm just saying that I thought I'm a basketball guy, and I was from young, I had basketball mind. So I'd pick a girl that I knew could shoot the ball. But I don't know if it benefits. You could help some people there.
All right. Yeah, that's a good question, Richard. I do think it's beneficial just because the men play faster, and it just they kind of present you with unexpected things that you don't usually see in women's basketball too much, unless you're playing a specific level, like a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it exposes you to things like they're faster sometimes, or they're just more athletic, and you have to kind of adjust to and think quickly.
Yeah,
that definitely helps improve your game. In terms of playing overseas, I mean, yes, a lot of borders are closed, but I mean, if you're looking to go play anywhere, there are some borders that are still open. Like, I wouldn't say that everything's completely shut down just yet. But even so, like, let's say your wings are clipped and you can't get anywhere, like, just stay in shape. Like, and I mean, some gyms I know, like here, for example, you can rent a gym and just play, like, and without a mask on, actually. Like, the people on the sideline have to wear a mask, but the players who play don't have to wear a mask. But I also know, like, in Spain, when they play, they all have masks on during gameplay. So I guess it just depends on how careful you want to be. Like, I would recommend playing with a mask on. They now have these little plastic cups that you can put underneath the mask that will prevent the mask from sticking to you when you inhale.
Oh, nice. I didn't
know that. Okay.
That can help a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, just stay in shape and just still kind of advertise yourself, put yourself on YouTube, do drills, just, yeah, because you never know when an opportunity comes.
One of the big things that I hear you saying is really that, preparation meeting opportunity. And right now, COVID, I think, is that, is the definition of that. A lot of people are getting discouraged because it's hard to find gyms, and they feel like opportunities are slipping away from them. If you can stay in shape in your own home, and whatever you can do within the limitations that you have. And I think for us, with the Elite One recruiting platform, I think that was something that we, felt like, okay, we're gonna throw another sort of tool in there that might be able to help, something in addition. And Willie is one of the first people I reached out to when I was getting ready to start this platform. And just because we're on the topic, what are your thoughts on a recruiting platform, to help women at that level?
Well, the tool that you guys have been developing, I think is definitely can play a major role in it. And for the most part, the marketability of a player is going to be.
Okay. No, wait. Yeah, you can start again, Willie.
We edit. Don't worry.
Yeah, you can start again right now, or as soon as you settle. No problem.
I think for the most part, the program that you guys are putting together will definitely be an asset to helping that marketability, because it gives the I guess you can say an online resume and profile and video for it to be seen, and and that's where we'll come in at, as well as helping promote it, doing the marketing of it. One of the things that I think a lot of players forget about is that the buddy system is still alive and well. It's all about networking. Even if you don't know a coach or team owner or general manager or anybody like that, chances are you do know a player that has played professionally somewhere. And it'll be good for players to contact those players to reach out saying, hey, I still want to play. I've been working out, keeping in shape. Here's my link. Here's my bio. Can you give this to somebody else that might be looking for a player or that coaches a team or that plays on another team? And, keeping your passport ready. And like my wife said, staying in shape and being ready for that call so that when it comes that you can up and go without having this, having any delays or anything.
I'd like to ask Leila a question if she can hear me, Wayne.
Yeah.
Hey, Leila, one of the things that's transpiring now, when I watch basketball on YouTube and stuff, they're now highlighting girls dunking the basketball. I know Lisa Leslie could dunk it. You said you met her and worked with her. Now the game of women's basketball, I think, is being pushed to a more athletic sphere. Because for years, over the last 40 years, women's basketball has been known as a fundamentally sound game, right? And that was something that was a plus. Now, here's where I have a two-part question for you again, just like someone on Meet the Press or something. Do you believe that that's a good thing, where women are now being marketed in a way to say, hey, this game is more athletic, number one. Number two, the backstory behind that now, the way women are being marketed is to get butts in the seat, because I believe women should be paid the same. However, in every aspect of life, women should get the same pay for the same work. However, if 20,000 people come to watch the men's game, a men's team play, 20,000 people, and 10,000 people come to watch a women's game play, the economics, that's where the difficulty lies. And I don't know if anyone really wants to talk about it. I don't want to be that's fine. I'll be the bad guy. But if you have 20,000 people come to watch a men's game and 10,000 people in a women's game, the money has to come from somewhere. Now, does that money come from ESPN, CBS, NBC, TV contracts? There's a way to remedy it. I have an idea. However, I want to hear your thought process on those two things: the marketing for athleticism and the pay situation, and how you look at it.
Oh, thanks for unmuting me. Good question. Okay, so in regards to athleticism, I do think that the women are getting more athletic just because they're exposed to more technology. Better skill training, and all of that. So all that helps. Now, I wouldn't go as far as to compare women's basketball with men's and say that we're just as athletic. No, I don't agree with that statement. But I'm not, it's obvious because women just have a different type of build, and we are wired differently. That's as far as I'm going to go with that one.
Okay.
In regards to the pay, it is true. The women are not attracting as many viewers just because we play differently. I think for viewers to be interested in women's basketball, you have to understand the game.
That's right.
Where we shine, right?
Yep.
If you don't understand the game and you're really just sitting there to watch entertainment, dunking, and all this stuff, then yes, you're going to be sitting there watching men's basketball.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, in regards to the money, I played for the Colorado Chill, and I noticed that particular league, the NWBL, actually folded. And it folded because they were trying to play in large arenas. And I'm not quite sure why. So the Colorado Chill team itself, I think, did a really good job in a smaller gym.
Okay.
The gym was always full.
Yeah.
Players were required to go to schools and really volunteer for the kids to get to know you. You read to them, you help them with schoolwork, you give them free tickets so that the parents will have to take them there. Right?
Marketing. Okay.
We would then entertain the kids at halftime show. They can come down to the floor and dance or, something like that. And we would have, we would then sign at the end of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
We would cater to the kids.
Yes.
The parents are the ones who have to take them there. And that worked out really well, I think. But like say WNBA, they don't necessarily cater to the community as much as they should to really get the spectators out there. I think they're really still trying to mimic the NBA type marketing where they say, "Oh, we have this player." Okay, that's all good and great, but again, like if you don't really know much about basketball, you're gonna tend to watch more men's than women. You just,
I agree.
That's excellent, and I appreciate that because one of the things that very few people even know, and just even with my co-hosts here, Kayla and Richard, I don't even think they ever heard of the Lady Elite Ones, the Toronto Lady Elite Ones semi-pro team.
No.
Kayla, you ever heard of it?
A Facebook page. You had a Facebook page, I think, for them.
Yeah,
I saw.
I
heard of it.
Yeah, and the thing about it is it's one thing to even hear about it, but when we started it, I met Willie by accident, and the idea behind it was like, why isn't there any place for women to play? I was already running a national high school all-star game, and it was the first of its kind that it called the All Canada Classic, and it was the first of its kind where men and the boys and the girls shared the same stage, and the idea behind that is what sort of led to looking for the women's semi-pro opportunity. Because when I put the girls game with the boys game, the first thing everybody said was, you know what, you're just going to ruin the game. You're going to ruin the event because now you added the girls as like the undercard event. And now people are going to have to sit there for longer and they got to sit through this girls game to get to the boys game. And a lot of people were very negative about it. Kayla played in the event, and by the time Kayla played, I mean, it was just a normal thing. The girls played, the boys played next, and because of the women that were there before, and us sort of pairing the two of them, it actually brought fans in that normally would not have watched women's basketball games. So it actually didn't hurt. It actually helped because it exposed people to the women's game that were they were just either being ignorant and didn't want to pay attention to it. And it created a new fan base. And then on top of that, you add the fact that these women put on incredible games. We had double, triple overtime all-star games from the women. And the thing about that was the men, the boys game, you had these arrogant, I don't want to say arrogant, but these sort of
you can say it.
They weren't playing hard. Like everything was like it was all about them. And the girls came in and they came in for looking for blood.
Yeah.
And so actually, from a competitive standpoint,
the girls are more competitive.
Yeah, and then the other thing now, when we decided to that carried over into the running the Lady Elite Ones to try and continue the opportunities, realized that we couldn't market the same way, and we had some incredible women that played on the Lady Elite Ones, Alicia Tatum, Tamara Tatum, Wumi Agambiade, and we had Stephanie Skirba. These were some of the top women, and that in Canada that were playing on the Lady Elite Ones, but that wasn't going to put bodies in the gym. Mm-hmm. But like you're saying, Leila, but the community that trying to create a community base or hub around the team.
Yes.
That's what was putting bodies in. And I noticed like you said, with the WNBA, it's like you're trying to make it apples to apples, and
you know what, Wayne, guys, what Leila was saying, they tried Butch Carter, who was the Toronto Raptors coach, guys. I got a chance to speak with him, know him because my son wanted to play in the league. So I called him. When my son got into that Canadian basketball league, that's what they did. His league, every team goes out into the community and speaks to kids and garners, sponsorship from Submarine, Mr. Subs and stuff, all kinds of stuff like that. But Wayne, Butch Carter tried to do that with his basketball to bring that type of element to it, that marketing aspect to draw families into the game. Willie, you know what? I have a last question for you, sir. You know what? Again, it stuck in my mind the way you grew up because, you know, the last thing before I came to Canada, my grandmother says, make sure you go to church. And I remember that, you know. So I want you to talk about that part of you in terms of faith and how do you, you know, teach young people, because young people want stuff now and they don't understand the long view and that faith and the work ethic that Leila is talking about and what Kayla had to go through with her injury, all that stuff. If you rely on your faith, you know, things will work out in the long run. So maybe you can touch on that, sir. And the other part I want you to touch on, Willie, is like, you know, what is it like to be married to someone who plays basketball on that level and has to travel? And that distance and stuff, and maybe that'll help some people get out here. I'm Oprah now. I'm in the Oprah chair.
Well, just touching on both, being raised with that old school rearing, it was one of those situations where
Keep turning back on this.
church or you get a whooping and still get ready for church.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, it was definitely a forced thing growing up.
Okay.
But as I got older, I learned to understand why. And without that foundation, the foundation of faith and going to church, and you know, of course, we didn't really learn that much in the regular service, but Sunday school was more of a school setting. It was more academic side of, you know, learning the history of, you know, the Bible and everything. And in our church in particular, we had some former college professors that were teaching our youth Sunday school classes, in which we didn't understand the you know, all the big deal about everything when we were kids. Of course, we just want to play, man. We were sneaking out between intermission, going up to get some candy and stuff, you know. Our biggest concern was not getting caught by the ushers. And as I got older, you know, we you know, started to realize just how big of a role faith comes in. That when you're facing hard times and adversity, you got to have that foundation. Without that foundation, man, a lot of people, you know, they basically just lose their mind because they don't have anything to fall back on. And then too, with the way that we grew up, it wasn't like we had luxuries, you know. It was one of those situations too where we didn't know that we were poor, you know. You know, so that, you know, when the adversity, you know, hard times came around, it was like, oh, we had it worse than this growing up, you know.
Yeah.
And again, that's where the foundation of faith coming in at, where, you know, my grandmother instilled in us that, you know, no matter what's going on, you know, there's still something better ahead. You know, there's still going to be a light at the end of the tunnel. You know, just go through whatever that storm is, you know, and you'll learn from it and you'll grow from it. You know, instead of trying to dodge things and go around things, it only makes that path longer. Whereas,
you know, Willie, on that point, Willie, it's the same thing. Parents will call me and say, you know what, my daughter or my son, they hurt their knee, they hurt this and they're that. And the first thing that comes to my mouth is injury is a part of sport. Let them know that Coach Richard said that. Injury is a part of sport. You really don't know what their faith situation is in the home. So let them understand that it's part of a process, right? It's part of a process that you have to go through adversity in order to get to the other side of something better than yourself. Sorry to interrupt you. Continue.
Oh, no problem. Oh, yeah, you're definitely right on that. And I was fortunate through high school and college that I never had any major injuries until my first year of playing pro ball.
Okay.
You know, and when it happened, of course, most times athletes look at it like, man, my career is over. You know, how am I going to bounce back from this, or can I bounce back from this and whatnot? I've always had the mindset that nothing could stop me. I mean, literally, that was my mindset all the time. It never mattered who I was playing against, no matter what my situation was or whatnot. I just had that mindset that nothing was going to stop me. And I did my rehab, came back, you know, and continued to play. I've had torn hamstrings. I've had 4th-degree sprains, you know, where every ligament tore up my ankle, whatever, but I didn't stop me. And the thing I regret, though, was not being smart about it, not doing more research on it, because I continued to play too soon, which caused more damage, which prolonged the full recovery. But, you know, I still had that mentality. It didn't stop me, and I continued to play pro sports.
Yeah, you know what I wanted to touch on with you and bring you back to the question about you and Leila and the distance, and because I remember once, and people have told me this before, that they're going away to a scholarship. So a young person now is getting a scholarship to go to the States or getting a scholarship to go somewhere, and they have a boyfriend and a girlfriend, and the boyfriend and the girlfriend are saying, well, you're leaving me and this, and all those emotions come into play, and some people make bad decisions. If I'm going to go to university, get a degree and better my life, and you're there for me, I know you're coming back, then, but if you're telling me, oh, this and that, because, and then you're thinking about, should I even go? You know, those things are serious things for kids. And that's why I touched on relationships and what it means and how you can help some kids in saying, hey, you know what do you guys do? How do you guys handle that distance and stuff that happens? That's why I want to help some kids with that.
Gotcha. My advice to kids in regards to the relationship aspect is you have to be in agreement. And it's almost like a business situation in a way, to whereas you sit down, you go over your pros and cons, you go over your expectations, and you want to make sure that it's something that's going to be feasible for the relationship. Now, with our situation, most of the traveling my wife did was prior to us getting married. So
Okay.
A big issue with that or anything. But even after we got married, most of the traveling we did together,
Nice.
games, the international games and whatnot. And then there were a couple of times where, she would go play for our national team in Switzerland. And I mean, of course, we're all for it, and then even most recently, we went down to South America. We were able to go as a family, which of course, was a big plus. But, again, I would say that the teamwork is what makes the difference, because you got to realize that you're going for the same goal.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, I got a couple of things as well too, and I think I think women's semi-pro basketball, because I'm not sure if anybody read it, but I read that there's in the Maritimes here in Canada, there's supposed to be a women's semi-pro league started just for like New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, so out east. Recently I noticed there's a lot of tour teams happening. Again, I'm saying, Kayla, did you ever play on a tour team, or have you heard of any of the tour teams? No. Well, I'm just curious, how beneficial are those? Is one better than the other? I mean, in terms of, in your opinion, like, the women's semi-pro game, is there something about that we should be trying to at least build that for the women's game, or is the pro, the pro tours, is that the better exposure opportunities, post college, post university? Either one of you, just your thoughts on those two.
Well, personally, I think a little of both. You got to have something on the local level, like nationally, in regards to work on, in regards to developing. And with the pro tours, I think that's where the most inspiration comes from, as far as like when a player gets a chance to take a trip and play against teams in different levels they've never played against before, and see different countries and whatnot. It opens up their minds for more opportunity. Oh man, of course, when we were growing up, we didn't have that opportunity, but now it's like, wow, I can go here and play, and I don't necessarily have to leave my job or leave my career per se, but I can go do a tour, take a leave of absence or take a vacation and go do a tour for a week or two, and come back and pick up where I left off.
Yeah, I think that's good. So, Kayla, why do you think we don't have, or it's late coming? I know my struggles in trying to make it happen 10 years ago in Toronto and even in Phoenix, but why do you think it's missing from our Canadian basketball community, like these types of or more of these opportunities, if there needs to be?
I would probably just say demand, a combination of demand for it, and then just people not even knowing that it's an option. And if there's not a demand, like people are asking the higher ups about it, then they're not going to think about it. And then just not even like, I don't even think people would know that that's something that could be an option, because we've never really done it. So it just really takes somebody that's interested and wanted to be able to put women on that platform. Like when I'm out here, recently when I came back from Atlanta, I've been doing some stuff with Hoop Queens, which she's a great platform in terms of she's letting college players that come back, former pros, high school players that are just trying to get some work in during this time. Like I've been to a few runs. She does events and things like that. So that's an example of somebody that's, every year I've come back, I've always been to the gym in terms of going to LA Fitness and just playing in runs. There was no female-led kind of let's get back in the gym when we have high school, college, and pro players here. And even if it's not a league, it's just at least the starting steps of having women in this like platform. And then from that, I think that stems like, hey, why don't we do this on a more consistent basis? And what can we look into in terms of avenues? So I would say there's murmurs now, but again, it was just a demand of interest and knowing that there's a possibility for something like that to happen.
Yeah, that is true. Well, I want to bring something to Richard and and Willie. Years ago, when I was coming up, the women's teams and local women's tournaments and men's tournaments were like that was the thing in the summertime. And you had these dominant men's and women's teams that like we had Lady Flight and there's these teams that where in the summertime, especially like these black tournaments, where you had these women's teams and organizations that they just dominated. And you knew who the women were, and younger women aspired to play on those teams, and that was the culture. And so I watched that sort of die out, and I've noticed that we don't really have that anymore. These, if you notice that, like just these clubs, these women's dominant women's clubs that are they just play. They had nothing to do with semi-pro or tour, but they were just always there. I don't know. Do you notice that there's a shift in that doesn't really seem to exist anymore? At least not up here.
No, I don't hear of it anymore. I know that during the summertime, growing up here in Toronto, these huge tournaments, the Westview tournament was a famous tournament in Toronto, in the west part of our city, and people from Montreal and all parts of Canada will come and just high level, above the rim type of basketball, exciting stuff. The women's game here was vibrant as well. Plenty of women who went on to play in universities and such all across Canada. One lady I know that went to West Virginia. So the game was vibrant. Now, like I was saying to you guys before, Leila and Willie, Kayla, it seems as if something has happened where there's not a lot of that happening, and I'm wondering what the culture, what's happening, what's changing when I'm seeing some high level skilled women basketball players. I've coached quite a few. There's a girl at Wake Forest right now. There's one at Northeastern that I coach. There's a lot of girls that I've trained who have gone on, and they have skill. So I think it's incumbent upon some of us to try and rekindle that. And that takes resources, gym space, which is at a premium now. You're looking at something like $90 an hour for gyms out where I'm at, which is to the west of the city, guys. Crazy stuff. So, and there's only a finite amount of extra dollars or discretionary income, they call it, to do basketball. And that's another excuse to stop women from getting in there. But I think if we get this thing, if we can find a way, I think it'd be beneficial for young girls and stuff. I mean, even for Kayla, who had an injury, we didn't even talk about I don't know if Leila had an injury. If Kayla would have mentioned, about her injury and what mental state she had to go through and what she thought of and how that's going to help young ladies. And so having her as a commissioner for a women's league, imagine what that would do to help other girls. So there's so much stuff that we should be thinking about and doing, that we look at and we go about our daily lives and don't see how it impacts the youth and the opportunities that they have.
I can actually have a quick question, or even just some more feedback in terms of, I know, Willie, you can probably attest to this, when you're creating a league, and I know you mentioned it before, and one of the words that stuck out was competitive, right? It's something that when you are having those ladies out there, you either want them to come out with the experience of, I'm getting better, or this is something I'm getting something out of. And I think in terms of Toronto, there's a shift of less recreational basketball once you're done playing in terms of school. So if I played at university and nothing came out of it, I know a lot more people that just don't really play anymore. Mm-hmm. In terms of if they're not playing professionally, I know a lot of people that go over for a year or two and like, hey, being away 8 months, I tried it, I did it. But in terms of resuming normal life, they'd want to do that in terms of getting a job that is not basketball related. But then after a few months pass by, they're like, hey, I would actually like to get in the gym and stay in shape. So it's just framing it in a way like someone with your expertise. I can assume when you first started, you didn't have an absence of people coming to try out, but just creating it in a way that it's professional, comes across professionally in terms of the league itself, and the players and the caliber of talent reflects of what you're trying to show on the floor. So I think those are some of those things where someone like you, if you came into a situation where we're at now, it's one, getting people that are, it's not recreational because it's professional, but just framing that in terms of, hey, this is an avenue where it's going to be competitive. Like there's women's leagues all the time where there's people that have had different levels of basketball. So how do we make it universal so that this is taken seriously and not just something that I do every now and then when I feel like it. So.
Well, and that's right on point. That was definitely one of the things that we had to adjust to early on. And with our first club with the Dallas Diesel, everybody had 9 to 5s, and we did have a lot of players that went overseas for a year, and and either didn't like it or just And that's one of the biggest things that I've seen over the years, in the shift and everything was burnout. Because, say, for example, if you have a kid that starts playing when they're in 5th, 6th grade and they play all the way through, through regular school and then go on and play in college, between, them having to think about their futures in basketball may or may not be their way of producing the income or the sustainable income, then, of course, they went to school for not just basketball. They're looking, to go into a career field for the most part. Thinking about retirement and thinking about starting families, and so basketball takes a back burner, most of the time when a player gets to that stage. And one of the things that we did with Dallas Diesel is try to remain as flexible as possible, and we tried to model the league after it as well. Say, for example, we had some players that couldn't make it to a Tuesday night practice because some of them were coaches. Then we had some that couldn't make it to a Wednesday night practice because some of them had, were still in school. So basically, or at church, we had open practices. So we have our core players that are coming to work out and whatnot. And as well, we would have it open for other individuals with experience to come and play too, which they didn't have to necessarily commit to be part of the team, but that opportunity was there. And that way we were able to keep numbers in the gym. Because if not, then, man, our practices, we would have, 3 or 4 or 5 people. And I'm like, well, man, it's hard to kind of get a good practice in when you don't have enough to scrimmage against and whatnot.
And then too, like, we had babysitters. Like,
there you go.
Yeah.
It's not like they will come from work, change, and have their child in the car, right? So we some kind of way where we would have babysitters during the practice.
Wow.
And in terms of like playing overseas, like, I know it's you have to kind of juggle your priorities, right? If basketball is the thing that you want to do, you only have so long to do it, really. Like, it's be too old and nobody's going to want you.
True. Young person's game.
Your career. But like, in that stage, if you are in that kind of situation, like, yes, you're going to go overseas and you're going to make money and it's going to be tax-free. But like, what you do with it really determines how you're going to end up at the long run, right? So like what I did, I saved it. Like, I challenged myself every month to say, hey, how little money can I get by and save it all so that when I come back, I have something in my pocket, right? And all your friends are working and they're buying their thing.
Yeah.
Feel like, oh man, maybe I should like just, so, but if basketball is truly what you want to do, stick with it. Be smart with your money, because it's only going to last for so long. And at some point, you are going to have to pick up a job. It would be a shame to pick up the job early and then regret your decision later, because it's truly too late.
Yeah, I would say that. Well, I mean, before we wrap up, I mean, I wouldn't be able to wrap up without talking about the Dallas Diesels women's team and the Phoenix Lady Elite Ones. My women's semi-pro team in Phoenix have we've taken some terrible losses from the Dallas Diesel at the hands of Leila. The women on our team are going to be watching this. I'm going to be sharing this, so I think it's worth it for us to at least just acknowledge that. And so Leila
Leila crushed some dreams.
I'm just going to give you a couple situations that made you probably one of the most, I wouldn't say hated because there's such a respect for you, but just you hurt a lot of our feelings. So the first time, Dallas came to Phoenix and we played at that church gym, and I kept telling them about you, that they didn't know about you. I said, I'm telling you, don't sleep on her. You can do it all. She can shoot threes, she can go to basket. And so she single-handedly dismantled us that time. And then we went out to Dallas. And then getting out to Dallas was a big deal. And we thought, okay, we just got Brianna Gray. She just left. I forget what school was, Weber State. So we had some young legs, and we were like, yeah, we got
them this time.
We go out to Dallas, and it's the same thing.
Same thing.
And the last thing I got to mention is the most heartbreaking thing that you did to us. We made it to nationals. So we won the West, and we got out to nationals and is it North Carolina or South Carolina?
North Carolina.
North Carolina.
Yep, Charlotte, North Carolina.
And guess who we got in the first round?
Leila.
Leila in the first round. But things were going in our favor. Mm-hmm. We had our pro. She's about 6'2" pro. Megan Mullins, and she's a thoroughbred. Again, very young. And guess what? We had them on the ropes. There was like minutes left, and then if you remember what happened, it was the score clock. Something happened with the shot clock, and Leila was in foul trouble. So it was perfect, like it was ours. And then the shot clock went out, and I think it must have lasted for like 5 minutes. And I had the option of saying, hey, we'll continue without the shot clock. And I went ahead and agreed. And it was just enough rest time. Leila come back, and she absolutely destroyed us.
I think Willie plugged that clock out. Willie was back there plugged the clock out. Willie, that was you.
I just want to I want to acknowledge that, and Leila, I think for the women on my team, can you just give us some feedback on what you thought about our competitiveness, who we were as a team, because I think it would make us feel really good to know that you guys actually were felt like you were on the ropes or threatened by us in any.
Nah, be a Kobe. Nah. Like Jordan. What?
I don't really remember that.
Great answer.
No, you got to pick our
Great
answer. Lift our spirits.
It's like, remember when Gary Payton said he got Jordan? Jordan was like, that's what you should have done, Leila.
Yeah, you don't got anything for us?
We have a very experienced team. So and you just can't, it's difficult to beat that. So even if you have, athletic or a good score, but there are ways to kind of interrupt the flow of a team. But if the teams experience like the Diesel are, it's tough to beat because we've been through all sorts of situations and we just kind of gel even harder. Like it's even more so. If you put us in a harder pinch or in more of a pinch, we get stronger just because even if we're exhausted, even if we're in foul trouble, there is, how do you say this? It's just we're not going to let go of the.
No, you're not.
And I think the experience has a lot to do with it. We just kind of know where they are on the floor. We don't have to think anymore because when you're tired, you can't think, but you have to think. So you don't have to think when you're playing with an experienced team. You do. It's just muscle memory at that point.
I agree with that, and we appreciate it. I'm telling you that Unfortunately, but fortunately, we didn't have to go through you the following year and made it all the way to the national championship and lost a tough one in Kansas. Yeah, we lost in Kansas in the national championship, but we didn't have to go through you guys to get there. But I think we learned a lot, especially, we raised all that money to go to North Carolina for a one and done. We were hurt. We were hurt. Yeah, but thank you for everything that that we learned competing against you, and Willie, thank you for the opportunity. Like I said, I've been part of what you've been doing for many, many years, and I can tell you from the women that I've coached, we are very grateful, because right now the Women's Blue Chip Basketball League doesn't exist anymore. And we're struggling, we're struggling to find that type of experience again. It hasn't been the same. So we appreciate all that both of you have contributed to women's basketball, and we're hoping that definitely out of this, there's some things that will be able to help. And for my co-hosts, any last things for them so we can?
You can go first, Kayla.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys giving some more insight in terms of different opportunities for women to pursue once they're done playing, or even to think about while they are still playing, because a lot of people definitely are in the position where when you spend so much time playing a sport that it's hard to just be like, hey, I'm not going to do that anymore. You itch to continue to play. And just giving valuable insight into how we could potentially adapt some of those things once our restrictions are a little bit more dialed down in Canada in terms of gym time and who can be in there. But once things open up, different avenues and ways we could potentially bring something similar into our infrastructure when it comes to basketball. So I just appreciate the feedback.
And from my end, Willie and Leila, thank you both for what you've done for basketball in general, and much success to both of you in the future. Thank you for being on the show. You've helped a lot of people. The information you've shared has absolutely helped myself, and I'll pass it on to young people as well. Thank you so much. God bless you both.
Yes. And then anything else for the future? Anything, any teasers, some things you guys got coming up that you like to share? Anything?
Go ahead.
Well, we got a couple ideas floating around. As a matter of fact, a friend of ours, Coach Rojas, he coaches I think at Florida Atlantic University. Well, he's from Mexico. He's putting together. We're working with him to put together a invitational tournament in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Hopefully, we'll have details for it pretty soon. As well as a friend of ours, Patrick Pellerin out of Houston. He has an organization in South America and is looking to put together a couple of events as well. And even here in the great state of Arkansas, we're in the process of putting some things together to host some events. Of course, we hadn't ran a team of our own in a while. We still have our diesel club in Dallas, and they're just kind of playing locally until this whole pandemic thing dies down. But we're definitely looking forward to getting back on the court more. Of course, I miss coaching and playing. Leila misses playing. And
Okay. So, what do you think about a tour team? Hook it up with Willie and either doing a tour team or bring a team down there to Arkansas.
Why not? Why not?
Great idea.
I don't see why not. Yeah.
Okay.
Great idea.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, thank you both very much again. And that's it. That's the Elite One Recruiting Show. I think this is our fourth show, so we're just getting into our groove. So it's really, really great to have you on in the early stages. We'll see how we do later on. We'll invite you back at another stage. So that was it.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, God bless you too. We appreciate it. Man, this is gonna re-inspire me. There's one thing that we should have touched on too, and that's the business side for players. And
once you go ahead, I'm gonna isolate you on the screen, and we can add that in. So you can go ahead and share and anything you want about that.
Okay. One of the very, very important things I want to add is for for any player, for all players. Never forget that you have a business side that you have to tend to. In sports, as much fun as we have, it still is a business. And you want to make sure that you're positioning yourself to where your money can work for you and you're not necessarily having to constantly look for jobs. You want to make sure you're doing as much networking as possible, rub as many elbows as possible to get to know, the ins and outs and the people on different level, so that, you may have a business opportunity that come about in many different ways. So definitely keep that perspective in mind. You're only going to be able to play for so long. You're going to be able to, do business for as long as you know how to do business. And a wise man once told me that you can make more money with your head than with your hands. So, keep that in mind. I recommend taking some business classes, business management, personal budgeting, just to stay on top of that thing. Business math is another good one to take, and just keep your eyes and ears open for those opportunities to grow your brand as far as being a player, but at the same time, being able to transfer that into money-making opportunities for when your playing days are done.